Bonsoir tout le monde. Bienvenue à notre
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our regular meeting, February 3rd.
Samedi qu'on stream.
It's saying that we're streaming right now.
Petite vérification technique.
A little checking here, a little technical check.
Yeah? All right.
But yes, okay.
Donc,
So,
tout fonctionne.
everything is working.
Donc, bonjour,
So,
tout le monde.
good evening, everyone.
Merci de nous rejoindre ce
Thank
soir.
you for joining us tonight.
Simplement pour, souligner,
Well,
comme toujours,
we'd just like to acknowledge, as always, that we're gathering on traditional territory, the unceded territory, the Mi'kmaq territory. Their ancestors signed a treaty of peace and friendship with the British Crown in the 1700s. Mr. Clerk, we do have quorum tonight. Everyone's here. There's one counselor joining us remote. Councillor McEnroy, in terms of any declaration of conflict of interests, are there any members of the council who would like to declare a conflict of interest for any items on the agenda? I see nothing, so thank you. To approve the agenda, I would propose a change. It's basically to remove an item under unfinished business, participation at the Crawfish Festival. After some discussions with the festival, they asked us not to discuss the topic, given the developments between two countries who have a hard time agreeing related things around tariffs. So I'd ask you to take that item off the agenda. I'd like to move, agenda is moved by Emil O'Brien for amended agenda, seconded by Deputy Mayor. All those in favor shall say aye.
C'est combien? Je n'avais pas vu.
I'd like a bit of directions here before we accept the agenda. As you've discussed, given the developments with our neighbors to the south, the Americans, between the two governments, last week we passed a motion, 2 weeks ago we passed a motion to have an official delegation. Can we revise, go over that topic again, revisit that topic? You're asking us to take this out. It's at the request of the festival. Can we have a discussion, another discussion? It's between your hands, Your Honor, and procedurally, I know it was a decision that was made. I'm not saying that we want to change it, but I'd at least like to discuss it. But I don't know. I'm placing it in your hands to determine how we might go forward. If you'd like to discuss it, it's not with the modification of the agenda in terms of removing an item. That just is limited to that. If you would like to discuss it, you would add that to the agenda, and that would need to be adopted unanimously. And I have no problem with that. I would like that we add that item to the agenda so that we can discuss it. Great. Is there a seconder? Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. So.
La proposition,
the main motion is that the modified agenda of removing 11.1, Councillor Cormier would ask for an amendment to the adoption of the agenda that we'll treat separately to add an item. I'll put it under. Well, it's not unfinished, but we'll put under new business, under 12.3, basically. We'll plug it in there somewhere to rediscuss the notion of a delegation from the municipality going to Louisiana in May for the Crawfish Festival. Our sister city of Breaux Bridge. So, on that point, would you like to discuss this item? I think that we should accept the first motion and come back with Councillor Roland's motion. One would defeat the other, so it's not really an amendment. We should vote on the agenda and then vote on adding something to the agenda? Inaudible.
L'ajout à l'ordre du jour.
The addition to the agenda.
Donc, adopter l'ordre du jour puis faire
So
une motion
to
pour
pass
ajouter un
the
point
agenda
après.
and make a motion to add something to the agenda afterwards. So
On n'avait pas tout à fait
we hadn't quite finished. We weren't done voting yet when Councillor Cormier interrupted.
Okay. Un amendement, c'est un
An
amendement à la
amendment
proposition
is an amendment
principale.
to the main motion
Sur un sujet
on a
normal,
for a typical topic,
fixe, réparer un road, par exemple.
to repair a road, for
Ça serait
example.
un amendement
If it
à
would
la
be an amendment
proposition, ben, la
to
proposition
the
principale
motion,
n'a pas été
the main
adoptée.
motion has not yet
Donc,
been
je vais pas adopter la proposition
carried.
principale
I'm not going to
et
adopt
ajout.
the main motion, then treat an addition. I'm going to treat the
Ensuite, la
addition
proposition
and then
principale.
make the
Si
main
elle est
motion.
modifiée,
If it's
on va le faire.
modified,
Si
we will do
elle
so.
n'est pas modifiée,
If it's
on
not
va reprendre la
modified,
proposition
we'll come
principale
back to the
originale.
initial main motion.
Vous me suivez, là?
Are you following me? No.
On peut accepter
We can accept to eliminate the item on the agenda, but to speak about it nonetheless with an agenda with amendment. Right now, Councillor Cormier is asking to add,
Je vais le traiter ça séparément.
so I'll treat that separately
comme un autre item sur l'agenda.
as another item on the agenda,
Ajouter un item à l'agenda.
like adding an item to the agenda. So it can't be an amendment.
Ça a fait un amendement à
It
l'ordre
makes
du
an
jour.
amendment to the agenda.
Ça
It
ajoute un
adds
point. C'est
another
un amendement à l'ordre
item.
public.
So it would be an amendment to the
Sur l'ordre
published
du jour
agenda
déjà été publié.
because the agenda was already published
Okay.
since last Friday.
On était en règle en faisant ça.
So are we following the rules this way? We have to treat the amendment first before treating the
Oui.
main motion, basically.
Donc, je vais demander
So,
pour un vote sur
I'm going to have a
l'amendement
vote on the amendment of adding an item
qui doit être
to the agenda,
qui doit être un vote
and
unanime
it has to
pour
be
l'ordre du jour.
a unanimous
Lors de la
vote
réunion.
to change the
Je vais
item
traiter
during
ça
the meeting.
tout de suite.
I will
En
cover that
deuxième lieu,
now.
là, ça va-
And
ça va
secondly,
modifier l'ordre du jour.
It will either
Ça va
modify
être
the
par
agenda,
après.
then we'll have to vote on it after.
Okay.
Okay.
Make sense? Yeah.
Does it make sense?
À moins que quelqu'un me...
Unless somebody
C'est bon.
inaudible.
C'est bon. Anyway. Donc, sur l'amendement pour
On the
ajouter-
amendment to add,
pour rediscuter,
to rediscuss, basically, not necessarily have a vote, but to rediscuss the matter of the delegation of the town of Shediac that would go to the town of Shediac. Bow Bridge. In terms of adding that, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Contre non.
Contrary minded, nay.
L'amendement est rejeté. Faut que ça soit unanime.
It has to be unanimous when it's a change to the agenda. That's fine.
La question de la délégation
So the question of the delegation to Bow Bridge is not finalized either,
depuis 2 semaines
not
passées.
not since 2 weeks ago.
Donc, sur
So,
le jour,
On the agenda, the main agenda,
avec la modification
with the modification
enlevée, parce que
of having removed a point,
on va pas traiter ce titre
we're just not going to cover that item
Tous en
tonight.
faveur en diront oui.
All those in favor shall say aye.
Contre non.
Contrary minded, nay.
Adopté.
Motion
Sorry,
carried.
I need to-
Désolé,
I
Harry.
need to go
Sorry, Harry. I need to go slower.
avec le délai. Donc, prochain point, adoption des procès-verbaux.
So, adoption of the minutes for November 4th, 2024. You had a chance to read it. Moved by Councillor Janice Cormier, seconded by Councillor Joël Després for the adoption. Any questions? Councillor Paul Boudreau, it's more of a comment that we've just refused to discuss just now. That's done right now. Can't we contest a decision of the council? A meeting or two back? I think that's happened before. I might be way off base, but can't we contest either a vote for or against in the meeting after the current meeting? Don't we have the power to do that?
C'est quelque chose qui
It
existe
is something that does exist
dans la
Yes.
procédure.
in the procedural bylaw. Okay.
Je peux
Là,
commencer
il-
le débat pour
le-
ajouter
Oh,
ça
you
dans
want
le
to start
jour.
debate to add that to the agenda? But under new items, the request of for new items, this is the current agenda as such. There's one point. There's two items under new items, community garden and the badminton club. We can't add a third one today. So when could I request for a request for information? You can ask some information, but we can't vote on anything under request for new information. So you can ask questions. It's not to make decisions. We have a power to revise a vote when the item is on the agenda. Yes, but it is not on the agenda right now. So if we don't, you have to ask to put it on the agenda before, or when adopting the agenda, which you've just adopted. If we have to go, it has to be unanimous, and it might never happen. I find it odd. How could I say this? To add an item to the agenda during the meeting, it has to be unanimous. But you can add items to the agenda for the next meeting anytime. You just simply share that with the staff, topic X, and they'll put it on the agenda at that point. If I propose it to the next meeting, do you have power? So we're skipping a meeting. Do you want to propose it for a next meeting? You can even just communicate with the clerk to add it to the agenda without being during a meeting. Thank you. I hope it's clear. It's clear as molasses, yeah. Well, molasses is good anyway. It's Canadian as well. Molasses is a Canadian thing. So for the minutes of November 4th, 2024 to be passed, all those in favor shall say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. So second set of minutes and November 18th, 2024, need a mover, and we need a mover moved by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin, seconded by Councillor John Steeves.
You got to speak up at some point. Tous en faveur, question.
All those in favor, question. All those in favor should say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Thank you. Item 6 is public presentations. 6.1, it's Shediac Community Garden. I see the president in the room here. Good evening. You can head over to the podium now. You have a short presentation for us. I'll try to speak as quickly as I can. Bonjour, good evening, everyone.
And want to recognize the important contribution of our representative, Roland Cormier, as in the past, Paul Boudreau and Peter Burrow, and a long time ago it was yourself.
Yep.
Alors, merci beaucoup pour votre
Thank you very much for your support. That's you're seeing the presentation up there now. I put in some photos for the people who never visited the garden. I think most of you have visited the community garden, and we always appreciate the collaboration and the participation of the town of Shediac and their involvement with the community garden. So, what was reasonable or acceptable, or the amounts that we were asking for 14 years ago, it doesn't really do it for in these times of food insecurity. It doesn't really match up with the needs. There's so much uncertainty in terms of what's we're seeing with this crisis between the United States and Canada. It can really cause quite a few problems for those with low incomes and revenue, and immigrants and senior citizens living under the threshold of poverty. So the community garden is an organization, and there's our mission. I won't read it out loud. You can read it as well as I can. Our mission is to provide a safe space to our people who want to grow their own organic vegetables. And we also offer some training and some education, and make it easier we organize activities between similarly minded groups. I have a sheet from our board. I think we're well represented at the community garden, and our AGM this year will be April 15th. I'd like to invite you to attend. Last autumn, when we submitted our request for community groups, we asked the amount of $10,000. I know that we were approved. The traditional amount was approved of $3,150. The application that we made to the town of Shediac was to buy equipment for inside the community greenhouse. And thanks to your contribution, it would cover a large part of the cost of the greenhouse. We could be able to put up the outside. All that's missing now are the panels. It was too cold. By the time we had the greenhouse up last year and the work was done, it takes a certain temperature. So once it is warm enough in the spring, the panels will be installed. We already have a little heater for the inside of the greenhouse. Our goal is to use the community greenhouse and to share it with the school, Luigi Robichaud. There's lots of courses that want to use the greenhouse, and we also have many groups who want to use the community greenhouse to plant things, fruits, for example. It might come to the point where we can't buy all the fruits over here. I'm not saying that we'll have enough for all of the town of Shediac in a little 40-foot greenhouse, but if we can start the work, it's already a great start. Just to show people of all ages how we can use a greenhouse to start seedlings and extend growing seasons. So we want you to consider the difference between $3,150 and the $10,000 that we had requested. That $10,000 was just a part of what we needed to buy in terms of equipment for inside the greenhouse. We need irrigation systems. We need lighting systems. We need to bring in some electricity to that building, to bring the water system in up to that building. So far, we've done all the rest of the community garden, but we don't really have access to that part of the garden. So we have many other things to buy, louvers and vents. It takes a whole bunch of equipment for the community greenhouse. I do have the list here, so if you want some details, I can provide the details. But the next sheet, when we started with the garden, the community garden 2023, at our current location, it was damp terrain. It was not used by Louis Giard School. We signed a renewable 10-year lease with this school district and the Department of Education. And thanks to the collaboration with the town of Shediac, thousands of volunteers, not hundreds, thousands. There are many generous people. We managed to do something that's quite good. All the other sheets are photos of the progress that we've made at the community garden. So now you see a photo, aerial view, September 2023. So there's phases that were complete and others were half completed.
So the next one after that is an aerial view of last September. It was taken by Charles Legrellet in collaboration with the Shediac Bay Watershed Association and Vision H2O de Cap-Acadier. So as you can see, all the boxes that are that will fit into our diagram have been built. We're pretty much at our maximum. We're full. and we have a long waiting list. So I'm hoping that if you didn't visit the garden last year, that you will visit it at some point this summer. And I'll just do a short overview of what we completed last year. So we had a 25,000 grant from New Horizons for seniors, and we built additional boxes at a lot of residences and for Kafi in Kapakadi, and we built some in Shediac Cape as well, and here in Shediac. So in total, we've built about 80 exterior boxes, that are remote from the garden, but we've built those boxes. So we built the access boardwalk, the entrance to the garden, which was a requirement. So that was to the tune of $26,500. We installed the framework for the greenhouse, and we built the remaining 30 plus raised beds. I lost count. We built as many beds as we could in the area that we have. We also built a teaching garden for the children aged 2 to 12, and we have a partnership with a new daycare program. We planted the citrus fruit tree garden, and we also built herb gardens. And we rebuilt the deck and canopy for shelter and completed the trading post. We installed, well, the signage is ready. It's not completely installed because we were waiting to have, the boardwalk completely finished. We worked in collaboration with many outside groups last summer, and we offered a lot of classes. And last summer, we hosted at least 45 workshops to the community. They were all free to the community. So some weeks we had 5 evenings with workshops. So it was a pretty busy summer. And last but not least, we worked with the LGR staff and the students, and we showed them how to garden and how to prepare garden beds. And we also grew food for the cafeteria program. And there were all kinds of classes in the garden last fall. So there's a few pictures here, and there's samples of some of the workshops. I put some in French, some in English. We did 2 main fundraisers last summer. And we're always working hard to try to find some funding. So there's a picture of our greenhouse as it stands as of last October. So you can see it's completed. It's assembled, but the only thing that's missing is the panel. And at the 2 ends, we have to install some solid panels to put in our heating system and our cooling system. Isabelle Iriart, qui est l'agent communautaire de
She's
LGR.
the community agent for LGR. She was supposed to come today to do the presentation, but given that was last minute, she couldn't make it. But some of the classes that have taken place at the garden that will be using the community greenhouse, it's environmental science classes, cooking classes, carpentry workshops that young people have really helped us, and they continue to help us. Sessions for young people with special needs, nutrition courses, physical education. They come to the garden. There's learning sessions for all sorts of courses at the school, at LGR school. Landscaping design courses, and there's gardening courses. So I'm pretty sure that 80% of the students at LGR have used the garden, be it for classes or art classes, a whole bunch of types of classes. They love coming to the garden and spending time there. They're really anxious that the greenhouse be ready for them. So I put some images here. It's a bit blurry, but I didn't want you to recognize the young people in the photos. So in last fall, we asked for $10,000 to help us to complete the community greenhouse, the water system, ventilation, growing lamps. Those are necessary to complete the setup. Since the start of our community garden in 2011, County Shediac has always demonstrated community spirit by investing in our project. Although we appreciate your initial grant of $3,150, this barely covers any of the costs associated with working towards solution for healthy eating, healthy living. This is part of the Shediac strategic plan to provide all members of the population the ability to have a quality of life that is a superior one. And I think that the community garden really fulfills a great part of that need in the region. And it's going to be an increasing need.
Having said all that, we don't have enough space at the community garden since we're fully occupied right now. We're trying to find ways to diversify, maybe sharing some boxes. But we're hoping that the town of Shediac will consider more green spaces and more spaces to build additional boxes all over the community. This year, we are being approved again for another grant from New Horizons, but it won't be to build boxes. It will be to help teach nutrition, proper nutrition for, elderly people or people of all ages. We have some classes organized at all levels, so just wanted to say that our work doesn't stop at planting seeds. We are expanding into the community. A couple of weeks ago, we had a request from Pointe-de-Chien, which kind of took me by surprise because 2 years ago they had voted against it, but they wanted to see our constitution because they're thinking of adding a few boxes to the community center, which is great because if it's 6 boxes, it's 6 more families that we can provide the space to eat. We also always seek active partners in the community, and we're very fortunate.
The people who know me, when they see me coming, they dodge me. They know that I'm going to ask them for something. This year, we're asking Kapakadi once again for a grant to help us pay for the costs associated with our workshops, because even if we have some help from Canada Summer Jobs and from SEED, we still have to pay the difference in terms of salary. Our manager, our garden manager, well, we don't have any budget for that, so we need to do fundraising to get some money to be able to do that. So there you go. Basically, that's it. In the last we're asking you to reconsider the initial amount that you provided. We're not asking for charity. We're asking that you be active partners. And I know that the amount that's allocated before, right now, is $3,150. But we are asking you to reconsider and perhaps increase it up to 7,500, which would represent 5% of our current annual budget. And then we'll have to get the other 145,000 elsewhere. We're not asking very much. We're asking for a partnership. We have support of many organizations, schools, churches. It takes all that to support the need that exists. So, if you have any questions, I can try to answer. Thank you for the presentation. I'll give the opportunity to council members to ask questions. I see Councilor Ronald Cormier has his mic open. Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Odette, for your devotion to this project as you work on the committee. And maybe Julie can help me with this one. And I know this does exist. The 45 workshops that you did, maybe this year you won't do as many. Is there a way of communicating with Shediac residents I know that you're on Facebook, but the group has a Facebook page that invites people to want to participate in activities and training sessions that the community garden offers. Could it be coordinated with the town? Maybe you don't want more people, but it would be great if the community were aware. If there's a course, how to develop, what might you say, oranges. These days, we need oranges. We could communicate. We should have, could that be shared with the town? Last summer, we had collaboration with Event Shediac. So I think that all of our events were basically well publicized. And certainly last year, we tried to build and do 100,000 things at one time and coordinate all of those workshops. This year, we asked for a grant.
So we asked for a grant through the cultural policy to help pay for a series of these. I don't know if it was approved or not, but certainly we will ask Kapakadi to help us. And our intent is to publish a pamphlet last summer, but it was too late. So we went through a social media instead. So that's how we did promotion. Maybe we could coordinate it with social media of the town of Shediac.
Vie communautaire.
The community life.
Okay.
So last summer, the workshop, it was always published on social media. So Councillor Cormier, I think it's a very good initiative. And with the arrival with our new community life officer, I think we're really on top of this. So we'll keep you updated with the community garden. And I think the second question, I'm asking the question. Yes, I think it was for Julie. Of course, Mr. Mayor. I'm hoping, as the council understood or heard, that the request for boxes is higher than the capacity of having them. It's not big enough. I'm hoping that the municipality will be able to work with the organization to try other maybe land, maybe green spaces, to increase the capacity for boxes for the citizen, to increase the capacity for the citizen of Shediac. So I'm hoping we can coordinate or help the organization to grow. Thank you. Yes, grow. Mrs. Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much for your presentation. It's incredible what you were able to do over the last couple of years. Just a couple of questions. On top of the money, instead of money, can we do in-kind donation? Yes, the municipality employees always collaborate with us. I was wondering if it was a financial contribution. It goes to the ground. We have the participation of the employees. With all the respect, I'm just asking the questions to get an answer. So it's accounted for. So is it accounted from the money we're giving? And the other thing, I'm not under the impression it's accounted for 3,500 and 50 is the check that's paid. So that's what we have in our budget, and 6,850 to purchase equipment. And then next year we should have 7,500, if not 10,000. So we're trying to be reasonable, but even if I was not looking at you, I was listening. So on top of this, in the envelope, we're asking money, so these are all separate budget envelope, because they are for different activities. It's really operational. Mrs. Our director, so the garden is getting help during like this community grants, and also when we organize activities such as the fall festival, like we launch a call like for all organizations, so the garden gets extra help for their gala. And once when the needs, often we send like an employee. Often it's Norm is the one we send. They kind of adopted him, and Norm also like adopted them too. So it goes in the both ways, but with our equipment. So we have an operator with our equipment. We help them, and in the past, like since they had like to move, like the Department of Public Works move and stored like some part of equipment and brought. So we are there, like we are collaborated, and there were like two other like grant requests with the cultural policy. Like the committee will have a chance to look into. I know I did my presentation, but we recognize like the financial help and the collaboration from the town of Shediac, and we appreciate like a 300%. But we are is still in the preliminary stage. So once we have our community greenhouse, our infrastructure will be finished. So they will put like the roof on the learning center, and then they will install the panels and build inside the greenhouse. And that's it. We cannot do more like at the community garden. So they build our fence, so everything is put in place. So you'll be ready like. And I think we're very proud of the community garden. So what we can offer to everyone. Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin, congratulations, great work. And you were talking about some ILO in Shediac Cape. There was a community garden before. So we helped build this community garden.
It was Joyce still
Pas si jeune que ça, là.
Yeah,
no, not that young.
Our members, so she asked us to go help them out to start the garden, and I think that it just became fact of life that it wasn't on the Anglican Church property. It was a private property that they were leasing, and I think that the members were just getting too old, they couldn't keep it up. So I believe that part of the garden is being used by the watershed to plant their seedlings at this point in time. And they also share it with the Shediac Cape school, to plant fall crops, I believe, and they're doing activities with the children.
But there was something there a couple of years ago right next to the school.
Pardon?
There was something by the school a few years ago.
It's still there.
Okay, that's what you're talking about. Yeah.
We built boxes behind the Baptist church. What is that home? We built about 10 boxes there. What is that called? Taylor Court?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so we built boxes there for the seniors in that area. And we did try to build some in Skeduk, but we were told that la résidence qui allait pas accepter de boîtes.
The residents would not accept any boxes there. So So before the meeting, I was speaking with Danielle Routier. She's volunteering at the Villa Providence, and she said they mentioned they would like to have boxes there too. So we don't know what the future has in store for us, but there are some possibilities. So Councillor Jean-Claude, and I would like to know if you communicated with other regions. I know you were working with them. We're working with the Barachois, Commis Village, Capelé, Shediac, and many places. And we're trying to find every little corner is like you're almost at the four corners of the world, not the world, but maybe the four corners of our region. Councillor Paul Boudreau, question very quickly, just to share like with the dedication like the garden has for fundraising at the Pascal Poirier, like they're there with the 50-50, like people seem to be less interested like in community group, but they're always there. Even yesterday, like for the acoustic Sundays, like Odette and her group was there. So they never stop. Like every time they're there to fundraise some money for their cause. and it's fruitful. I don't know if it's fruit or vegetable, either $100 or $10,000. Any donation is important to us. Bravo, Odette. Thank you for you and your team. Thank you, Agronome Boudreau.
Merci, Odette.
Thank you, Odette. And unfortunately, I have to leave for the meeting. Councillor Booktreva, just a second. Thank you for your present. You're just installing like the boxes and the different lines. So you're just building the box, and we help them like through the partnership with New Horizons. We paid like for soil, we paid for organic, the seeding. We just build the boxes, and we help them and we visit them, and that's what I want to do. Not necessarily the equipment, but if they need, it's not only build the box. Some places they do not need, you only want the boxes, but like in Shediac Cape, like a Taylor Court.
A lot of seasoned gardeners, and they just want the boxes. They said, we're fine, we're on our own, and ça fait qu'ils sont bien contents.
So they're very happy, like they're ready, like at Taylor Court to organize themselves. So thank you very much. And I'm hoping for a positive answer. So good, have some good discussions. So this ends our presentation. So in terms of correspondence, we had no correspondence this evening. We did not have any report for standing committee or special committee. Usually it's one out of 2 meetings, so will be the next one. Our CAO report, Mr. Leger. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So my report will be brief. I can share also like for a lot of information, and I would like to remind the council is now it's a season like for the building, like for billing for water bills. So we proceeded last week to send some letters like from where users were connected on the water system, and it includes also like an additional letter for the accounts that were not paid. So we send about 200 letters for unpaid accountants. So you can expect like some calls from people wondering what are the procedure, and I would recommend like I would direct them to the bylaw was talking about the measures on the water system and billing system. As for municipal operation, well, later this evening we will deal with the question from the capital borrowing board for the Bow Bridge Road, but you're still working like on other projects, such as that projects were presented during the capital budget, either like Calder Street or where the infrastructure in the trails. We will get back to you. And we never stop working on those files. As for community life, well, we're still working for the proposal we got for the community center. We're hoping to present it like for the next meeting for that we received. And as for strategic planning, of course, like the council adopted the plan, and we had like an all staff like a meeting. Maybe we had it was published on our Facebook account. It was a good meeting where the staff had the opportunity to know where we will be going over the next year, but also to hear them like on what they are focusing on goals for 2025 internally. So really the participation was and the human resources, we were really like touched by the participation and what we had got from the staff. So the participation was great, like and to know like, and they told us how each department would like to focus on some files, and of course like the team from the direction, they will have work to do with Ben trying to put in place like the operational plan, so we can present like this, and also like to have this over the next couple of weeks. So this is my report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. CEO. Questions on the item mentioned by our CEO? We have no recommendations from the Southeast Regional Service Commission. And unfinished business, one, the Pointe du Chêne Port Authority. Just to give us some background. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and council members.
Back, I think in early summer.
I'll switch to English.
From the Pointe du Chêne Harbor Authority, which was presented to us by Kim and also Donald on the board. Looking at all the expansion going on at the Pointe du Chêne wharf currently, they were proposing to create a more protected area and another expansion on the south side. And for those reasons, they have a shortfall, and they've asked us in the letter that you received to participate. They're lining up all their funding, and they have a shortfall of that amount that they're looking for. From our perspective and from my department, from a tourism perspective, we've identified now that the municipal reform has taken place, that we have 4 of our major attractions from the tourism sector. And one of them is definitely the Pointe du Chêne Wharf, is identified as a major tourism destination that people will come down and flock and spend the day there or spend the afternoon, go fishing, jumping off the wharf, or using the services there. Part of this project will be able to accommodate visitors, be able to accommodate bus tours for the cruise and the Shediac Bay cruises that is located on the wharf. We're creating memories and experience for visitors with the name Shediac and Pointe du Chêne combined together. Pointe du Chêne Wharf is also tied in with Parley Beach, which is our largest major attraction from a tourism perspective here in the town. And also, I'd like to recognize our lobster at the Rotary Park, which is also one of our major attractions. And with the arrival of Umaris Center that we have there, a great partnership was created with them also. So that brings in a more influx of tourism to our town. And also, well, I just want to recognize our downtown and Pascal Poirier as, the fourth pillar of our tourism attraction that we have in town. So if you have any questions or anything, thank you.
Merci, Danny, pour ce.
Thank you, Danny, for this information.
I wanted to move the motion. If you can hear me. Councillor McElroy, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can. Can you hear me?
All right. I think you'd mentioned to me you wanted to move this motion.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. It does give me great pleasure, actually, to move the motion as per item 11.2 on the agenda. Whereas during the 2023 amalgamation, the LSD of Pointe du Chêne was integrated into the municipality of Shediac, whereas the Pointe du Chêne Wharf represents an important economic and tourism asset for the town of Shediac, and the Pointe du Chêne Port Authority has approached the municipal council for funding to solidify the wharf's infrastructure as a tourist attraction. Therefore, be it resolved that the municipal council grant funding in the amount of $230,000 for the project to expand the south end and entrance of the Pointe du Chêne Wharf, and that funds are to be drawn from the general operating reserve fund. I so move.
So moved by Councillor McElroy, seconded by Councillor Émile O'Brien. Questions? Conseil Boudreau.
Councillor Boudreau, question. Thank you. Just a question, so maybe Danny. Yes, 2 or 3 years ago, I don't remember the exact, we denied a request for the local marina for a certain amount of money, and now Pointe du Chêne is a jewel, as you mentioned. What's the difference between this request and the requests we got from Pointe du Chêne? Mr. Director, Danny, well, in my opinion, as I said in my message, is certainly like the tourism sector. We invite the public to go there, it's community, and it's known like as a tourist attraction. The marina it's more like a private and a yacht club. Like that's for this reason. Thank you. Like yeah, it justified it. My second question, I don't know if I had to ask to you or Kim for the 230,000. Like what can do more? Like if we do not accept it, what will it do less? If we do not accept that motion for 230, they have a shortfall, as I explained, in their funding to make progress on this project, and this amount is important. So if they won't be able to do the project, we're talking about 20%, because this project is over $1 million, and there's many other partners involved in this project at the provincial level, etc. That's it. Thank you. Thank you, Danny.
No.
So,
Pas d'autres questions. Donc, sur ce,
on this note,
tous en faveur, on
all
dit
in favor, saying aye.
non.
Aye.
Against, nay.
Adopté. Merci.
Carried. Thank you.
En point 12, introduction.
12, introduction to new business, community garden.
On a pu voir
So we were able to see the presentation from Mrs. Chair, Mrs. Odette Babineau. I would need someone.
Deux résolutions, là.
See, there are two resolutions.
On va traiter la première. Puis après ça,
We'll
on
deal
va
with the
parler.
first one, and then
La
we'll
première
go.
est
The first one essentially
augmenter notre financement
is
de
to
100
increase
000
our
un autre
Green League, like
6
to add another 6,800 for a total of 10,000.
Une proposition. Quelqu'un va faire la
If there
lecture.
was be a motion,
Conseiller Cormier.
Councillor Cormier,
12.1 jardin communautaire.
12.1 community garden. Whereas the Greater Shediac Community Garden has been submitted a request from Municipal Council to improve the installation to allow a use over all year round by adding like an irrigation system and to increase also like the growth. Be it resolved that the municipal council and for additional 6,950 for the year 225, and that is this amount be drawn from the 1-2103 grant for organizations. I shall move. Moved by Councillor Roland Cormier, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. Questions on the motion?
Sinon, tous en faveur, on dira oui.
Not all in favor, saying aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna wait. Contre, non.
Against, nay.
Adopté. Merci.
Carried. Thank you.
Sur la deuxième proposition,
On the second motion, which
moi, j'ai une question.
I have a
Peut-être
question,
Monsieur le DG.
maybe for Mr. CEO, is money for 2026. Can we commit some money for 2026? Because we have no control so far on the 2026 budget. So this council, of course, will adopt the 2026 budget. If the council wants to present a resolution to give an amount, so they just have to commit like to put this amount in the budget. But the final decision will be like during the budget process. But I think by presenting a motion, you're just showing that just like some kind of willingness to signify the intent, but the ultimate final decision, it will be done during the budget process.
C'est pas une habitude qu'on fait.
It's not something it's not a habit we will take. I would not recommend like because it's not the council here of 2026. Past 2026, because I know sometime like for example like campaign fundraising campaign for University of Moncton commit for 5 years, like 3,000 per year, but we cannot decide like the budget for 2029 yet, but we can indicate and we plan our budget accordingly. We adopt to just to respect our intention. Sometimes we had fundraising campaigns like that are more like multi-annual. So I have for this one. So do I have someone who would like to read it? Move it. Councillor Janice Cormier.
C'est toi qui avais ton bouton de peser plus.
So you press your button first. It's just a question.
Okay. Okay.
Pas de différence.
It doesn't matter.
Conseiller Roland Cormier.
Councillor Roland Cormier. Whereas the Greater Shediac Community Garden has been doing excellent work for many years to connect the various stakeholders in the region, such as citizens and students from the LJR school, whereas the annual grant to the community garden has remained at $3,150 for some time. Therefore, be it resolved that the annual grant be increased to $5,000 starting in 2026. I shall move, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Councillor Roland Cormier, seconded by
Joël Després.
Councillor Joël Després.
Puis que j'ai comme
Questions since
enlevé conseillère Janice Cormier de la rotation.
Councillor Janice Cormier.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Comme que Monsieur le directeur a mentionné.
As Mr. CEO said, it's something I think we did not do in the past. I have a little bit of a problem to adopt a motion to honor something was we don't know which situation we will be like at the end of the year for the 2026 budget. I wouldn't want like to adopt something that will be perceived that we will have to give the money even I'm not comfortable with this one, so I would prefer like the organization to submit a request. I would suggest the organization to do it prior to the budget and maybe to do like a 5 or 4 year request instead of coming in every year, just to honor like I'm not sure like if I'm comfortable with this request. Thank you for your comment. Councillor Joël Després, I think we're in the same direction. I just want to clarify, like right now, like the annual grant, is it done automatically, like we give them like a grant to our budget? Don't we have the discussion here at a meeting that we ask the organization to come every year and not included like in our budget? So what happened if the organization did not do that? It's something we put in our budget. They still have to submit the request. And the organization has to submit the request. If the organization, well, is not doing it, is not coming up or doing anything, well, we don't give the money. I think in the past it happened when organization, I can't remember the name, but they never asked like the year after they got. So for anything, I think it was really a small amount. But Councillor Bouc-Chevary, thank you. Is it the same? I mean, a bit of same opinion. Councillor Joël said, like an annual grant be increased. And starting off, it's as if we are committed. I'm not sure could we have like if it's accepted or to the budget, but it's as if we give not forever, but for many years, like starting off. So I'm not sure, like it's like our CEO said, like we can. The councillor can signify it's an end, but the budget also will have the amount in the budget. But if the budget, they will reduce it to a certain amount. So that's what will be done. It's the adoption of the budget, regardless of what the person is saying. Was it interpreted well? If I understand, like the intent is there. If I can make things easier, like the council could do, present the same resolution, but there's nothing like that forces the council to do it on an annual basis. It's still to adopt during the budget process. Let's say like it would be like a contract agreement. It would be like an intent and we would have to sign a contract. Well, once we present this amount to the council, right now we're obligated like to do it. I think it's not the case. Like it's more It's a community organization. They want like to secure some funding that, and they would see, okay, it doesn't change, and the council can still modify, change, or cancel like an amount during the budget process, even if that resolution was adopted.
Ouais, je comprends, mais j'aurais de la
I
misère à
understand, but I would have a hard time to vote on this one this evening, and then once in the fall the budget, oh, sorry, we'll only be able to give 4,000. I'm not against like the 5,500. I'm just against like this evening motion. We'd be ready to do it with the budget process. I will be voting against. It's not I don't, because I agree with the amount, but even if the resolution is not adopted this evening, it does not, the group can still ask for the same amount during the budget process. I would be more comfortable like to vote on the motion then. Perfect, thank you.
Madame la mairesse suppléante,
Mrs. Sylvie Colette Boudreau.
Dites-moi si je suis out of line.
Tell me if I'm out of line, but I move that we table the motion. We do not have to vote against, we just table the motion as it's stated until the budget.
Ça serait acceptable. Bon,
So that would-
si comptables sont une date en vue, ça l'amène à la prochaine réunion. Là. Ça veut dire, ça serait pas de bon sens. Là. Mais si tu veux tabler jusqu'au budget, ça veut dire, regarde, on va pas considérer ça jusqu'au processus budgétaire. Ça, puis
c'est pour ça que je
budget sera octobre 2025.
La défense aura la même chose.
Ouais. Voter contre fait le même effet.
Mais, OK, ben, c'est que je vais tabler pour arrêter la discussion parce que c'est un moot point. On n'a pas mal la même opinion.
Si vous proposez le
On va continuer à en
tabler,
parler.
si vous, on vous donne des renseignements. Si tu proposes le tabler, je vais demander pour un vote. C'est simple. Tabler ne demande pas de secondaire, puis c'est un vote droit là. Tu demandes de tabler puis voter.
Je demande de
Bon,
tabler et voter, s'il te plaît.
Non. Tout le monde en faveur de tabler cette motion-là jusqu'au prochain processus budgétaire. Oui. Levez votre main. Tout le monde en faveur de tabler jusqu'au prochain processus budgétaire. Signifiez par oui. Ou levez la main, je excuse. 5. Contre. 6. La motion pour tabler est défaite. Donc, la motion sera disponible pour voter.
Merci.
Conseil Paul Boudreau, je crois que tu es le seul qui me restait comme question.
Oui, juste pour justifier pourquoi le tabler, c'est parce qu'on fait c'est pour. Donc, moi, je trouve que c'est dangereux si on commence à accepter, puis je félicite les conseillères qui ont porté ça à notre attention.
The councillors brought for attention. It's a slippery slope. The other organizations will come, they can come see us often. They come to the perception that we'll accept them. It's rare that we don't accept 100% of requests. This is why I'd like it to be officially coming in October, November when it's budget time, and then we'll discuss it. It's like Patricia. I'm not in disagreement with the request, but let's wait when the other ones for the moment when they come. That's why I didn't want to table it. I wanted to push it back, to postpone. I know it's the same intention, but
Autre question.
Other questions.
Once in a while, I look at Councillor McEnroy. Donc, tous en faveur.
All those in favor
de la motion
of the motion, raise your hand, please.
Tous contre.
All those against.
Adopté.
Motion carried.
Message clair.
Clear message. The motion is defeated.
12.2.
12.2. Shediac Badminton Club. Who wants to give us the background to this one? It's a request that we received it's something we received after budget deliberation for a public badminton club that formed in Shediac to develop that sport. There's many young people in Shediac participating in development of badminton. So right now, they're practicing at the Grand Digue School. There are young people in Shediac participating. They formed a club. They're following the Sports Canada program on how to develop it. It's called Train to Train, based on the age group. And they're also developing at the LGR group. They're trying to bring in more young people to participate in badminton, not only for participation, but also for fun. They're asking a grant for what's of 1,000 $1,500. They basically receive things from the province. Can we do the motion? Councillor Jean-Claude Bertha, Shediac Badminton Club. Therefore be it resolved that the town of Shediac grant a grant of $1,500 to the Badminton Sports Plus Excel Club, and that this amount be taken from account 1-2103 grants to organizations. I so move. Moved by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin, seconded by Boudreau. Any questions on the motion? It seems a bit simpler. All those in favor shall say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Thank you. And number 13, request of information on the part of council members. It's your opportunity to ask your questions to myself and to the CAO. Councillor Peter Bro, you're first up. Thank you, Your Worship. Last weekend, I had the opportunity to speak with the owner of Silly's Motel in Shediac, saying that during hockey tournaments in Shediac, few people were using his motel. Some people said that they weren't aware that the motel was open in the winter. I think that the new owners are doing their utmost to make full advantage of that hotel in the winter. I think that Judy should call minor hockey to advise the parents that when they're making arrangements for tournaments, that Hotel Shediac is available, yes, but there's also another hotel that's available, and it is a good hotel, well located, and restaurants have a hard time in the summer. There's a restaurant. I think it's the least we can do for people who are paying municipal taxes to the town. I don't know if we'll take a motion to do that, Your Worship, or just a simple course matter of advising community development to take some steps with minor hockey to make sure that those organizing tournaments advise parents of the availability that don't have to drive to Moncton to find lodging. So we'll take a motion for inquiries. I'm not allowing motion. I'm not asking to do a motion. Is it possible? I think it's a message that can be sent. Mr. CAO, Mr. Economic Development Tourism Director. That's a great question, Peter. I understand the concerns of any business, that they all want to be part of what's going on. We certainly make all of the available lodging on Experience Shediac. We encourage all organizations to share the links during any festival, any sports organization, a sports event. We can't choose for clients where they go, but we certainly they certainly have access to that information on the Experience Shediac site. Second thing I'd like to add that might help, the tourism department is looking to create some deals that could help. There could be a QR code, give some discounts to participants for tournaments during the tournament season to business in Shediac. We are assessing all of these things to be able to raise awareness and give some more advantages to business people for more visibility. This is what we're doing to share it out. I understand that the information is on Experience Shediac, but obviously it's not working for those business people. I'm not saying that we have to just promote them. Other people can, there's other places people can go, but I don't want people to go to Moncton to find lodging. We need to find a way to make sure that the organizers advise people. It's not everyone. I know that it's a tool that we use in terms of the list of lodging. The list is there. My question, Your Worship, is do we provide that information when we do the invitations to various tournaments throughout the province in terms of knowing what the lodging is on the list? If minor hockey has a list of lodging that they use, well, I don't know. I'm not associated with minor hockey, but the list that we provide to minor hockey, minor soccer, all the rest, it's the same list. It does include that hotel. Is it possible to check with minor hockey to make sure that that information is provided? We can certainly communicate with them to see what they're doing on that front. Mr. Director, it was one of the items that we identified. Often the teams that come and the Association General, they don't really receive a kit from the town of Shediac. One thing that we discussed that we're trying to organize in all departments have discussed it. It's one of the things that we want to do, that there be a list to go see lodging options in Shediac, the restaurants, all of that. I think we've taken a good note of that, Councillor Bro. Could we bring it for a motion? I don't think we need a motion. I think it's part of our plans to find a way to distribute the information to all of the associations. Each association, also generally speaking, I was a parent of a minor hockey player. They will generally provide a list when you go register. So it also does depend on the organization per se and how they organize themselves. There's a certain level of responsibility. So some info that we can maybe send to the various associations might not be a bad idea. I really take your point. It's simply have to open the channel of communications with the various associations, I think. Thank you. You want to add something? I think you've basically clarified what I wanted to say. Certainly, given that it was brought for your attention, Councillor Bro, we will certainly look at how to communicate with the associations to make sure that they're aware that Experience Shediac is available. Sometimes it's little reminders that can help organizations, often volunteer organizations. So we will work with communication, tourism, and community life to send a good message to all of the organizations. Thank you. Councillor Janice Cormier, thank you, Your Worship. I'm not looking for an answer tonight, but I would like l'équipe, the public works team, to look at our crosswalks throughout town that don't have any lights. The crosswalk, for example, in front of called LMFB, the crosswalk behind the fire hall, the crosswalks where they're just white signs. There's a few citizens who have spoken to me. They don't see them, or they've feared striking somebody. It is a road that you cross, and it's just a white sign. Could we put in some reflectors on signs, or some reflectors on the posts, just to maybe make it the white sign be more visible? There's nothing else there as a crosswalk. So could we add a bit of safety to those crosswalks? We can look in. The department can look into that. That's for sure. Thank you. It's our pleasure. Maybe even put a priority on where there's more traffic as opposed to those that don't have less. But I think many of them do have a lot of traffic. They're just white signs. And people forget that they're there, or it's not entirely visible, or it's not as evident. Mr. CAO, I'd just like to raise two things. We're working on a transportation master plan right now. that might dictate where there should be perhaps some additional crosswalks, what type of, maybe even some recommendations on the type of signage that we should have, blinking lights, school zone, etc. But also when it comes to there's a national code that we have to follow in terms of road signage. We can't just decide to put things up if it goes against the code. I just want to make sure that the council is aware of that. This is true. They can revise it and bring in some changes where it would be determined to be necessary and for positive change. Councillor Joël Després. Thank you, Your Worship. Maybe it's going a bit far back, but with this president in the States and tariffs, is there a clause in the contract that we're signing for capital projects that says that the price can vary if cost of material goes up? There might be some surprises. My main question, is there a clause whereby the price can change? All contracts already signed are locked in. It's a set contract. For any future contract, well, obviously, you have to the supplier to put in a price that that person feels comfortable that they can respect. Is it possible there'd be fluctuations given tariffs and that the market and that the goods that we're trying to buy would be more expensive? It's quite likely. But it's not something that we can foresee or predict right now. Obviously, we're asking lots of questions in terms of tariffs. We know that the provincial government, the federal government are leading the file here to protect the interests of Canadians. And we do hope that the measures that they will take will protect us so that there aren't any fluctuations in the market. Negative ones, obviously. We do like conditions that improve the market, but we can't control the market and the economy that will be there given potential tariffs that the United States and Canada might impose. That was more in terms of current existing contracts. Well, that's set. We certainly don't have many construction projects except for the fire hall right now. But those contracts are generally locked in. Thanks for clarifying. That's a good question. As they announced just before we started our meeting, we had a 30-day delay. So at least they've given 30 days to speak between the two countries. We'll see what the result is. My crystal ball is not so great in terms of predicting that result. Councillor Paul Boudreau, just as a follow-up to Peter's question, at the given time we had that there were kits. Given that the groups use municipal facilities, so that when there are tournaments, darts, for example, at the community center, we do this a long time ago. I'm not sure if there's less interest, but this is something that existed a long time ago. 2 or 3 points for council members. Sylvain. Comms mentioned road signs on the highway. There was a citizen request, it's a good request in my estimation, to add bienvenue, welcome. How are we advancing on that file? Sylvain. Is it still at the strategic phase? We're still in the process of identifying a company that would help us make them. That's one thing. Secondly, we have a request. Councillor Cormier was asking me before the meeting in terms of signage at the entrance of different areas and the new territories. That as well. The only issue here that was brought before me is that we probably don't own most of the land, so we probably have to acquire some parts of land or make agreements with people to be able to put up certain signs, Skudok, Pointe du Chêne, Shediac, places like that. That could slow down the process. However, in terms of the highways per se, the one where we saw Shediac, I feel Shediac, that has to be redone from A to Z. We have to update them and make them look good. They're really a tired visual look. remove the logo. The slogan would be removed. We're thinking of just putting in welcome. Bienvenue, welcome. So that's what we had in mind. It's basically the same process for the rest. Before the summer, we're moving as fast as we can on that file. Thank you very much. I'd like to inform council members, Julie was there this afternoon. I participated in an activity with Kafi. Your worship was there as well. Interesting around related to retention and recruitment of newcomers. It's very interesting the challenges that they face. It's supposed to be a report. We will share the reports for that group. It was very interesting what they spoke about. And ultimately, there was a round table. Kapakadi was there. It was really fantastic. Joel raised the terrified question. May I speak to Danny, Your Worship? You'll hear him at the same time. This tourism season is coming. Danny, could you present what kind of strategy? I know there's so much uncertainty around the Canadian dollar. It's nearly at 50% of the American dollar, and there's tariffs. Could you prepare with your team in your presentation what you're foreseeing for 2025 in terms of tourism this year? Well, tariffs, they did start talking about them in November. It was just more lately. So do we have anything specific, Mr. Director, for staff, clientele? Are they going to go Old Orchard? I mean, that's what I want to know from the department. If you'll allow Councillor Brito and Your Worship and council members, tariffs are one thing. A bit like we spoke before. Tariffs will be decided more firmly in 30 days from now. But there's been a wave of, if you look at all social media, there's a wave right now in tourism, in terms of tourism, and I'm assuming this, I can't guarantee this. All the people going to Old Orchard Beach coming from Quebec, they're during the pandemic. It's going to be busy for sure. I think that we will pick up a bit more of that. That effect, people will generally reserve as of January to the end of April. That's the window where they do the major reservations for their week of vacation. I'm assuming that we will certainly see an influx, an increase on that front. In terms of presenting what we're doing department-wise, tourism department-wise at the municipality, Melody is preparing a presentation, just like we did last year. I'm not sure if council members who were here remember, we made a presentation before the summer season, the marketing, the events that are upcoming, our positioning in terms of the brand, and new things coming up. I would expect that in March, we should be able to bring that before you. Thank you very much, Danny. That's all, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Boudreau. Councillor Roland Cormier. Thank you, Your Worship. The first question would be, the ladder truck is built in what country? Well, I don't know the answer to that. Mr. CAO, that's another contract. Sorry, maybe I forgot, but I don't have the specific answer. We could come back to you on that. It'll be a bid with a contract that we've done, and the price should be set. And if there's a fluctuation at the level of the price, either up or down, it will be up to the supplier to respect the sales price that we entered into. We had 3 bids, I think. I can confirm that later, specifically where the supplier is coming from. Second question, Your Worship. It's a question that I regularly ask. Could we have an update on the lodging tax? The lodging tax. Mr. Economic Development Director, and Tourism Director. Thank you for your question, Councillor Cormier. Just to Councillor Boudreau, in terms of the lodging tax, we met the industry, and industry gave us their intention We are reviewing the bylaw right now. I think that it will go to Sylvain's office in a few days. And once we've had the bylaw finalized and written, we'll be ready to present it for first reading. I can share something that we've discovered. And by imposing a lodging tax, you want to impose it on May 1st this year. All contracts reserved before the tax is imposed, even if it's after, we can't collect it. That was confirmed by other municipalities that have gone through the same thing. Our intention is to create the lodging tax, to bring it before you. If it's past the 3 readings, the dates within will be discussed in terms of when to bring it into effect. Given the little problems that we saw, you probably recommend to only impose it in 2026 as of January 1st. That will give lots of time for any people involved in the lodging sector. By January 2026, everything will be 100% subject to the lodging tax if it is the will of council. Your worship, am I properly understanding that we will see this soon? In a few months, maybe, Your Worship? I'd say in weeks, actually. If we're saying, if it's getting sent to the clerk will put it on the agenda. So I'm presuming that given you're saying in a few weeks, it'll be in a few weeks, Your Worship? It could be next meeting, or it could be the one after, I would think. Thank you. That's my crystal ball speaking. Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. Thank you, Your Worship. Do you have a sense of when the lights on the Big Lobster will work? They're not lighting up in the evening, and there's a problem. I noticed that myself. I drove at night, and there's no lights. There's something broken. The department is aware. Well, yes, we had a hard time with the lighting system. It was flashing. It wasn't a stable lighting system. We had to remove the lighting system to stop the light pollution, but we'll bring it back once there is no more snow and we have access to the grounds. Thank you. In the spring. So, thank you very much. Number 14, there's no readings of bylaws for tonight, but a few motions. 15.1, Municipal Capital Borrowing Board. Mr. CAO, Madam Finance Director, to give us some context, the request to the Capital Borrowing Board, it's part of the capital project that we presented during the budget deliberations, following the figures, the numbers, with the engineers, the numbers stayed the same, our costs stayed the same, so it's the amounts that we established for a total of 11.3 million. But no numbers have changed, according to the experts and the consultants, and we looked everything over, and everything is in compliance. Mr. CAO, I just want to add that the objective would be to bring all the projects forward at the same time. We're evidently not ready for specific prices for the other projects. With the potential fluctuations, we want to make sure that we're as close as possible when we have the design work that's completed and we have an engineer's estimate, so that we go to market, we don't have big surprises before we go before the Capital Borrowing Board. We're just asking for one project right now, but perhaps during next meetings, There will be other requests to go before the Municipal Capital Borrowing Board for other projects, but we can't have them all together at the same time. And the amounts are the full amounts, whether there's a contribution, we're always borrow the full amount. If we have a grant, some partnership, it reduces our cost, but we have to be able to complete the project. Yes, we strike the amounts not used. Would you like to read it? Thank you, Worship. 15.1, Municipal Capital Borrowing Board. Be it resolved that the Municipality of Shediac, under the Municipal Capital Borrowing Act, is asking the Municipal Capital Borrowing Board for authorization to borrow for capital expenses for the following terms and amounts. Transportation services, Bro Bridge Extension, Phase 2, 15 years, amount of $9,033,000. Environmental Health Department, Bro Bridge Extension, Phase 2, 15 years, $2,867,000. Be it further resolved that the treasurer be authorized in the name and on behalf of the town of Shediac to negotiate interim funding for the General Capital Fund according to the authorizations issued by the New Brunswick Municipal Finance Corporation. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sylvie Boudreau, seconded by O'Brien. Any questions, Councillor Paul Boudreau? I have 3 questions, but to 3 different people. It's a one-stop shop over here. Thank you. To Carol, congratulations for finally for Bro Bridge. How will it affect our debt? To borrow 12 million. To debt ratio, you mean? Mr. CAO, we presented it during the budget process. It's the same amounts. It doesn't change with in terms of what we presented. Danny, in terms of economic development, eventually, will we charge? Will there be frontage fees to recoup some of the costs to this infrastructure? I can speak to that one too. We're obviously studying the project to recoup a part of the costs. Municipality would be part of the project, have the responsibility. It's not necessarily a frontage fee. It might be a development charge or area, but we're studying the question. We have a consultant who will help us with that, with that issue. It will potentially require putting together a bylaw that will speak to that question, but I don't want to open a larger can of worms here, but there might be other areas that we'd like to add to this question of a development charge that the municipality will take up.
Would like to start, especially if the announcement of a new school, or if there are like water is being added like to some areas of town. So we will study this issue of development charge, but we might also expand the scope to include like a variety. We get our inspiration from the city of Moncton and Dieppe. So they did a similar bylaw, so we're working with the same consultant. So there is some knowledge we can draw from the changes they did for similar projects. So the last question, especially like for all the lands, are they all purchased? So can we go to the borrowing board like to do this project, or do we have to draw money elsewhere like to purchase some land? Many questions, but the first one we will not speculate like if we have agreements with done, but essentially like the purchasing of land has to be funded by others, so we cannot use like the capital borrowing board like to purchase them. But in this instance, we're not doing this. We would be using like any purchase with the Economic Development Fund that was created like to purchase some parcel of lands for the construction. And the very last one, always like the deadline? What is the timeline? You have a specific timeline by the end of March to end the tenders. I know, like it's a big file. Do you think it will be open in 6 months, 1 year? No, won't be 6 months. I can guarantee this. Essentially, like the first step, and Bob also could give you like maybe more specificities. Like we have to go like to the capital borrowing board to get the funding, and jointly like the documents for the quotes are being worked on. Once they are ready, we'll go to the market to get the proposals, and then we're hoping by the time we get an answer from the capital borrowing board, we should also have the prices for the possible bidders, and also like of course it would be like the planning during the summer works to have like specific dates to complete the project. And of course it's still in the hands of the engineers. We're looking maybe not that the project will to be completed in 2025. We're looking maybe beginning of 2026, but we are quite in line with what we had thought before we send like the borrowing board. We have to design, like the engineers did the design, and we have to prepare the document to go to the market. It's being done as we speak, and we should be able to get the proposal and then give them and award them. If everything gets in line, like we should by the end of March, we should have an answer to take a decision on a possible potential bidder, and then we can start the construction.
One-stop shop en avant.
It's a one-stop shop, as I said earlier. So, move and seconded on this. All in favor, saying aye.
Aye.
Contre, non.
Against, nay.
Adopté, merci.
Carried. Councillor Després, you scare me.
Je crois que c'est pour celle-ci.
I think it's for that one. Tech agreement for Capacadi, Mr. Director, like fire service agreement. Of course, we are selling fire protection services to different. Always had an agreement with the former village of Capelé. Now it's the town of Capacadi. For a reason, some reason, we only had like a 1 year agreement for 1 year. By discussing with administration, would like to see like a longer agreement, because only with the reform, maybe it was something it was forgotten. So we recommend like to have a very similar agreement to all like the sale agreement with the regional town of Capacadi.
Merci, Monsieur DG.
Thank you, Monsieur. Councillor Joël Després. Joël Després, he said the right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 15.2, like fire services agreement, Capacadi. Whereas the town of Shediac signs an agreement for the purchase of fire protection services with the Ville Régionale de Capacadi on an annual basis. Therefore, be it resolved that this agreement be renewed for a 3-year period from January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2027. Be it further resolved that the mayor and town clerk be authorized to sign the agreement as presented. I shall move. Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Janice Cormier. Questions on the motion? If not, all in favor, saying aye.
Aye.
Contre, non.
Against, nay.
Adopté. Merci.
It's been carried. Thank you.
Quelque chose qu'on fait depuis extrêmement longtemps.
It's something we've been doing for a very long time. 15.3, cancellation of the regular meeting of March 3rd. Mr. Clerk mentioned it's because it's a March break and many employees, they're on holidays, and a few council members too. Councillor Book-Travail, would like to read it? Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Cancellation of regular meeting of March 3rd. Whereas the regular meeting on the first Monday of the month falls at the same time as the week of March break. Therefore, be it resolved that the regular meeting scheduled for March 3rd, 2025 at 6 o'clock be cancelled. I shall move, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Councillor Book-Travail, seconded by Councillor Emile O'Brien. Question. Councillor Roland Cormier. Mr. Mayor, I'm looking at the agenda. I'm looking at the calendar. So we want to cancel like the meeting of March 3rd. So the next meeting would be March 17th. And the last meeting like 20th. So we're talking like about a month break like between like the council meeting, like regular meeting. Yes, in this case we would go like from February 20th, sorry, like February 18th, because February 17th it's family day, and then we would go until March 17th, like St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, it's 29 days, not 30 days. I understand. If there is a need like to report the thing, we can organize a special meeting like to help to make some progress and file. So the council for Councillor Boudreau are talking like the plans for street, and we're discussing we want to go to tender this like. So your timeline and the reality of council member, it doesn't add up. Like that's the point I want to make. If you want to organize special meeting, that's okay. We always have the habit. Even this is during like the summer break. It's the same. Like, thank you. Very good point. It was moved by Councillor Bourg-Chauvary, seconded by Councillor Emile Bright. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against nay. Carried. Any other questions?
We'll
go to item 16, appointment to committees. Wouldn't be the time. I'm trying to pass a motion. The council decided they did not want to discuss this. I just want like to do like a advice of notice of motion. Would it be the time? Usually we do like the request because our agenda wasn't clear. So I would ask you like for a notice of motion. I would like to present the motion to the next meeting, the regular or special meeting, that revisit like the decision for January 20th to send a delegation of 4 representatives from the town of Shediac in Louisiana.
Faut que ça soit un ordinaire.
So it has to be a regular meeting. Would be next regular meeting. Just in case, yeah. If you nothing wrong, like to try. From the bylaw, the motion has to come from the person who voted in favor. If I remember, you voted for. Yes, I went for the majority. You're for or against. I voted for like the. I had like the exact language, and it says at the next meeting. It does not specify like a special or regular meeting, but implicitly like it means like a regular meeting. I cannot give a directive, but I would encourage administration not to purchase any tickets before we have the discussion. I cannot tell you what to do, but it's in me, so there's no rush. You should not wait just a week before, but
no. Au point 16.1.
Item 16.1.
Municipalités et communautés.
Senior friendly municipalities and communities. So to make a nomination for this committee, so it's following the discussion we had between the Department of Community Life. Okay.
Ah, c'est vrai. Je pensais, OK. Madame Bélanger?
Oui, c'est ça. Ça
Mrs.
fait
Bélanger, so
Monsieur Boudreau siège
Mr.
dessus
Boudreau
le
sits
de MADA
on the MADA committee for seniors
afin de pouvoir avancer avec le
in,
dossier.
in order to make some progress on the files and do some kind of programming and to be accredited with the province, we need to create a committee. So Councilor Boudreau is part of this committee,
On vous a soumis les noms.
and we submitted the names of the Mrs. Recruited by Liette Paulin.
Conseiller Boudreau, si on va faire la lecture.
Councilor Boudreau, if you would like to read, absolutely. Whereas the Town of Shediac Senior Friendly Municipalities and Communities Committee was relaunched in 2024, whereas the recruitment was carried out with citizens and community stakeholders over the past year, therefore be it resolved that the following person be appointed to municipal MADA committee. Gérard Béliveau, resident of Shediac, Frank Savard, résident Pointe-Jeanne, Nadine Vautour, manager of the Villa-Providence Recreation Department, Aboubakar Sadou, Shediac Community Health Officer for Vitality Health Network, Guy Laving, president of the Club d'Âge d'Or and the Knights of Columbus, Councilor Paul Boudreau, myself, Liette Paulin, Community Development Officer for the Town of Shediac. I would have a question and a comment. Moved by Councilor Paul Boudreau, seconded by Councilor Germaine Galland. Questions? Councilor Boudreau. Who did the recruitment, Julie? Liette Paulin. She's a community development officer. I congratulate her. It's great.
Autre question? Sinon, tous en faveur.
If not, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Contre?
Against nay.
Adopté.
Carried.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. I need someone to move the adjournment of the meeting. Moved by Councilor Germaine Galland. Thank you very much. Next meeting will be in 2 weeks. It would be on February 18, on a Tuesday.